Now that WrestleMania 35 is come and gone, it's time for the WWE to mix things up as superstars travel from one brand to another, hopefully making for new storylines, fresh matchups, and exciting feuds. Join us now as WrestleLamia looks at the 2019 WWE Superstar Shake-Up. First, let's look at wrestlers leaving Smackdown for Raw. Smackdown Live can no longer be looked as the WWE's blue-branded stepchild because the WWE needs to deliver solid ratings when it moves to Fox this fall. Rumour has it that Fox is offering the WWE $75 million a year to add an extra hour of Smackdown programming, which theoretically means more time for wrestlers, but also more room for the booking woes seen after Raw expanded to 3 hours. The WWE finds itself in a tough position with Smackdown Live, as it has some top names like AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Daniel Bryan, and a loaded tag team division. But how many stars can it afford to lose? Number 1. AJ Styles. The Phenomenal One has kept fans entertained on SmackDown for some time now, so it makes sense to move him to Raw. The Blue Brand will lose arguably its biggest star, but Raw has some big stars too that could make up for AJ's absence. Stars we'll discuss soon. Number 2. Shinsuke Nakamura. Shinsuke's US title reign seemed like a consolation prize for his shoddy sojourn on SmackDown. However, it's time for the WWE to give him a second chance at greatness by moving him to Raw for some new opponents. While it's likely he'll be used to put over his opponents, fans will enjoy watching him count the lights for Raw superstars instead. And speaking of counting the lights, number 3. Rusev and Lana. The Bulgarian brute and Lana have been buried so badly on SmackDown that they could easily tunnel through to Raw. While it's equally possible that Rusev's WWE woes will continue on the Red Brand, at least he'll give the fans on Raw a glimpse of his much wasted talent. Number 4. The Usos. Raw has a number of outstanding singles stars, but its tag team division could use some established stars to invigorate it. It's difficult to take anything the WWE says at face value, but the promotion reportedly wants to build its tag team division back up. The tag team division is a good way to showcase two superstars rather than seem diluted in meaningless singles matches. Teams like the Revival and AOP are good, but they need to be built to the next level. Something difficult to do without putting them into matches with established stars. The Usos just lost the SmackDown Tag Team Championships to the Hardy Boys, so don't be surprised if they show up on Raw. Number 5. Sanity. Did you know Sanity was wrestling on SmackDown Live? If not, you're not alone, as the faction comprising Eric Young, Killian Dane, Nikki Cross and Alexander Wolf have been doing a whole lot of nothing on the Blue Brand other than putting over opponents. Granted, SmackDown's tag team division is crowded, but Raw could use a quirky faction as the WWE works to build up the Red Brand's tag team ranks. Number 6. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Former Bullet Club stars Gallows and Anderson may be moving to All Elite Wrestling when their WWE contract ends in September, but they still have plenty of time to share their experience with young teams on Raw and help elevate them. A small push on Raw could improve Gallows and Anderson's reputation before they begin putting over teams on Raw. The WWE could even do the unthinkable and build them up as a top tag team, helping to invigorate Raw's tag team roster while younger stars are built up in the meanwhile. So those were superstars looking to move from SmackDown to Raw. But what about Raw to SmackDown Live? Raw is bursting with main event single stars who are getting lost in the shuffle, Braun Strowman being one of them. As just mentioned, Raw may be the WWE's flagship show, but the WWE can't afford to load up all its talent on Raw, nor can it go in the other direction and stack up SmackDown Live. The problem is that rumours persist that Fox wants SmackDown to maintain a distinct roster, as it's competing directly against rival network USA's Raw program. While there are a number of stars who might benefit from a roster switch, it won't matter if they are booked poorly at their new home. But which superstars could be making the switch? Number 1. Drew McIntyre. Fans keep hearing that Drew McIntyre is getting a big push, yet he continues to count the lights in big matches, leading fans to wonder what the future holds for him on Raw. Barring a Universal Championship program with Seth Rollins, McIntyre could benefit from a fresh start on SmackDown. Number 2. EC3. Sadly, there's already talk that Vince McMahon has soured on EC3, despite him not even being on TV much. Raw has too many stars, and EC3 would do well to go to SmackDown, where he could compete for a secondary title or team up with, number 3, Bobby Roode. Despite a Raw Tag Team Championship run with Chad Gable, Bobby Roode received a Raw deal during his time on the Red brand. While Roode will be 42 years old this May, he seems to have enough gas left for one more run. Both he and EC3 could benefit from teaming up, preferably with both men working as heels, with EC3 breaking off into singles action when the time is right. Number 4. Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman is in a bind as he's currently booked as a babyface on a roster bursting with babyfaces. Unfortunately, the WWE's monster among men has been turned so many times that another heel turn would do more harm than good to his career. Strowman is another Raw wrestler who could use a change of scenery, and if booked properly, he could be a top star on SmackDown, someone that fans tune into every week. Plus, there's also the possibility of him entering a feud with Samoa Joe, a feud we'd certainly like to see. Number 5. AOP. The tag team formerly known as the Authors of Pain have languished on the Raw roster despite a short reign with the Red Brand's Tag Team Championship. A move to SmackDown would give him a chance to build them up against established teams such as the Hardys, the Bar and the New Day, although it remains to be seen how long Big E will be out of action. And number 6. Heavy Machinery. Although Heavy Machinery debuted on Raw in January, the team hasn't made much of an impression. A move to SmackDown wouldn't fill the gap left by a team such as the Usos, but like AOP, they could be built up into contenders and at some point, even tag team champions. There are a few factors which could affect the Superstar Shake-Up and the horizon of both Raw and SmackDown, both in terms of programming and who will wrestle where. Number 1. The women's titles. The Superstar Shake-Up is going to have to deal with some wild cards, one of them being the unification of the Raw and SmackDown women's titles. With 2 rosters of female superstars but only 1 singles and 1 tag team championship, what's the future for the women's division? Is the WWE going to launch a separate show featuring female competitors? Will the 2 women's rosters combine, wrestling on both brands? Or will the WWE maintain its current roster with the champions travelling to each brand to defend their titles? This is definitely one of the most interesting questions about the shake-up. Number 2. The women's roster in general. If the WWE plans on keeping its women's roster on separate brands, it needs to rebuild Asuka into a top star, leaving her on SmackDown. SmackDown's women's roster is weak and could benefit from Asuka and Charlotte's presence. Additionally, Asuka could feud with Charlotte, continuing their rivalry from 2018. There's no need to switch any female superstars around, but the WWE does need to keep the Riot Squad together. The 3 superstars have the potential to make for a great women's faction, with the trio wrestling under the Freebird rule when they compete for the Women's Tag Team Championship. Number 3. Title switcheroos. Could Samoa Joe and his United States Championship be headed for Raw? One way to create fresh matchups would be to throw Joe into the Raw roster. Likewise, could Finn Balor head to SmackDown with the Intercontinental Championship? While these secondary titles need considerable rehabilitation to restore them to their former glory, both current champions are good fits as title holders as they can work with a wide range of opponents. A move to opposite brands could help jumpstart interest in the belts, helping Joe and Balor to make the titles meaningful again. Number 4. Brock Lesnar. Is Brock Lesnar remaining in the WWE? If so, where will he take up occasional residence? Raw or SmackDown? Rumors have been circulating for the last few months that the WWE wants to move Lesnar to SmackDown to help boost the show's ratings. While fans may wonder how Lesnar, who rarely appears on television and who has yet to prove he's a draw, will help SmackDown, keep in mind that Vince McMahon lives in a fantasy world where the wrestling world revolves around the Beast incarnate. One possible solution would be to designate Lesnar as a free agent, similar to John Cena, who makes frequent WWE appearances, making it easier to book him where he'll do the most good. Number 5. Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey's current status with the WWE is murky, with the latest story being she's not listed as appearing in the near future. suggesting she may be taking time off to start a family. When and if she does return, rumour has it that the WWE may move her to Smackdown Live, as the WWE feels she's one of their best, if not the biggest draw on the roster. Like any discussion of the women's division, it remains to be seen how the WWE will deal with it, i.e. keeping the rosters separate or combining them. And number 6, NXT call-ups. The WWE Universe is curious about what to expect from NXT call-ups such as Aleister Black, Ricochet and Johnny Gargano, who have been working on both Raw and SmackDown Live. All 3 men would be great additions to either roster, but it looks like Gargano is moving to SmackDown, while Black and Ricochet will work on Raw, possibly continuing their tag team. Black and Ricochet battling the Usos would be a spectacular start to a newly formed tag team division, while Gargano has a number of quality opponents to battle on SmackDown. But there you have it guys, our predictions for the WWE Superstar Shake-Up. What stars would you like to see move between brands, and which ones would you like to see stay put? Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.